All right. As I stated, we have special guest on the show, Hunter Ballew, founder of ROOFCON. Hunter, thanks for joining the show.
What's up, man? Glad to be on today.
Yeah, same here. So I know we're coming up on ROOFCON, but I really want to take a minute to give all of our listeners kind of your background story. You're also the owner of a roofing company. So kind of share your background story, how you got into roofing, and tell us a little bit about your company.
Yeah, man, I wish it was super exciting and I could tell you about how grandpa used to be nailing on shingles and I learned everything from him, but that just ain't it, man. I'm a small town guy from Travelers Rest, South Carolina. I'm sure you've never heard of it. A couple thousand people here in Travelers Rest. It's pretty close to Greenville, South Carolina, a little bigger city. Definitely not an Atlanta or Charlotte, but it's a decent sized city here in upstate South Carolina. After high school, I went into the Marine Corps for a little bit. And then I went to the fire department for 5 years full time. During that time, I don't know if you're familiar with the fire department schedule, but there's typically you work one day and you're off 2 days. And so I was always doing stuff on the side. I was selling boats and cars and trailers. I had a moving company. I was selling stuff online. I just always wanted to do my own thing. And so I eventually got into marketing as I dove deeper into the online space because it just felt like digital was the way to go, right? If you know how to market, you can market anything. And so I started helping roofers. I think you talked a little bit about helping roofers in the past, and that's what I was doing. I was just helping roofers. I had a client up in Minneapolis that we just crushed it for in a few months. And I had a buddy here locally that knew how to get the job done, knew how to roof. I didn't know anything about it. Like literally, I tell people that and I mean it. Like not the difference between 3-tab and art, nothing about it. So we were crushing it for him. And I was like, you know what, let's build a company and use it as a case study. Let's get it to 7 figures in 12 months and use it as a case study to bring on more clients for what we called roof gen, like lead gen. It's called roof gen. And so we started and it just kept growing and growing and growing. And here we are. We just hit 3 years and we're still growing, brother. And I quit doing marketing altogether. I still do a good bit of consulting and things like that through RoofCon, speaking, getting on podcasts. But in terms of done for you services, I don't do that anymore. Focused on Cornerstone, getting to $100 million a year and growing into different locations and serving many, many people, many men and women, and helping them develop as leaders.
Man, that's awesome. So yeah, it's just so interesting to hear that you came in from not in the industry, but you got caught up to speed pretty quick, hit the ground running, came up with creative ways to help other people. And obviously there's a lot of passion behind that. So, well, tell us a little bit about Cornerstone. What kind of roofing company is it? What's your focus? What's your organizational setup like? Stuff like that.
Yeah, man. So we're based out of Greenville, South Carolina. Travelers Rest, South Carolina is kind of the corporate headquarters. And then we have an office in Charleston, office in Charlotte, and an office in Little Rock. All three of those just being open in the last 6 months. We've kind of used our cash flow from this main office to start putting leaders into place to grow other offices. Instead of taking money myself, I just wanted to invest into other offices and continue to grow. So it's a little bit scary, especially during coronavirus, but that's the message I've been preaching for 6 months now. I've been on so many podcasts talking about coronavirus. What do you do and how do you market? How are times changing? But for me, I looked at it as an opportunity. I wanted to double down. I trust the guys that we put in place as leaders in those different markets, and we're already cranking out those markets. So for us, man, it's all about leadership. For a long time, we had your typical setup where you've got managers in place, a sales manager, an ops manager, a general manager, and we started switching things up. And we added kickers so that as you build a team, if you want to build a team, if you recruit someone, if you meet someone that's a good server at Texas Roadhouse, if you've got a buddy that's selling for a pest control company, whatever it is, you bring them in, we vet them. We still have to vet them. They pass through the funnel. They're the right personality type. They say all the right things. They make sense to us, and we hire them. If you train them, if you lead them, if you answer their questions, they're not coming to us all the time, then we'll give you a % of their sales on top of what they get. We don't take anything from that person. It's just in addition to, because we want to see these guys, number one, most importantly, develop as leaders. It is something I'm extremely passionate about. You'll hear me say that over and over. But secondly, create somewhat of a passive income. Because once a guy's been here for 2 years and you've trained him, he's not going to be coming to you for questions anymore, yet you're still making that 2% off of his sales. So the goal was if you could get 5 guys to $1 million producers, you make $100,000 a year off of just your team.
Man, that is nice. I have never heard that before. And
yeah, I've never said that public. I kind of let my secret sauce go right there. This is the first time I've even told somebody that.
Yeah, I think that's a killer strategy because you are taking care of the guys that you've put in place to take care of other employees.
Yeah.
Everybody's incentivized to win. I just love that. It's,
I hated the feeling of like you could only have so many managers. For so long, he's like, man, this guy deserves a chance to manage, to lead, to make money, to be compensated for it. And I've had people say, like, well, that sounds kind of like a pyramid scheme. It's not like, oh, you get this percent and then this guy brings. It's none of that. It's literally if you recruit a guy, you bring him on and you train him, you get a percent of his sales. If he builds a team, you don't get any of that. It's just the guys that you train, you lead.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's common. And so my background is in business development and healthcare software. And in healthcare sales, pharmaceutical sales, medical device sales, that is the structure. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're a territory manager, you make money off what all your sales managers and salespeople produce. So
Nice.
you're incentivized to help all of them win.
Right. That's how
And
it should be. Yeah.
I love that. I love that model. Well, that kind of leads into my next question. I mean, something we're really passionate at Roofing Mastery is leadership. And we have roofing CEO groups. We're big on leadership. I love leadership, and you do too. So with all the stuff that you've been through, the good years, the bad years, the challenges, the breakthroughs, what would you say has been the biggest leadership lesson you've learned and why?
Yeah, man, I think you're gonna evolve as you go. For me, I'm not quite 30 yet, thank goodness. I was talking with Jim Johnson on a podcast earlier, and he's talking about. I'm like, dude, do not call me 30 yet. I'm 29. I'm holding on with all I got for a little bit longer. But you're gonna learn, man. I'm still young. I'm still learning as I go. And these guys, as they develop as leaders, they're gonna learn as they go. So to be tactful, to have empathy. I was telling him that earlier. He asked, what's the biggest thing I'm working on as a leader? And I said, having empathy. There is a difference in empathy and sympathy. And it's, trying to come down to their level and understand from their perspective. And you may not understand because you may not have that perspective, but not being too critical. And so as you grow a team from one old guy, named Johnny, who helped me get all this started, to now having 50 plus people, you got to be slow to speak sometimes and real quick to listen as the leader because you just don't know what they're going through. And if they're going through a hard time, if they're not hitting their numbers, and you say, well, you didn't hit your minimums this quarter, and we have minimums that they have to hit, you're not quick to say, hey, you better get your stuff together or you're going to be off the team. You ask, you dig, why didn't you hit your numbers? Is there stuff going on at home? Do you feel like you need more training from us? I want to first say, is it something that we're doing because we want to correct it? If it's not, and you're open and honest with us that, hey, there's some stuff going on at home, okay, I'm not going to dig in your personal stuff, but if you need to talk to us, let's talk. Or is it just a guy being open and honest? Yeah, man, I didn't put in the work. And then we can correct that. And we know, hey, you need to go out there and actually put in the work. So I think that as you develop as a leader, it's crucial that you have a heart for people and not just the profit. We're seeing a shift in this day and age. Back in the 2000s and the 90s and the 80s, culture wasn't this buzzword. It's a buzzword now. People look at Apple and they look at Google and they think it's so cool to have this culture. Most people don't know what culture really means. My definition of culture is an investment into your people, not necessarily money, but time, development, making sure they have the training they need, making sure that if they need to take off for a half day to go spend time with their family just for mental health or whatever it is, they know that you're not going to freak out because they've got some work to do, that you trust in them that they're going to get it done tomorrow or they've already got it done. And so to me, it's just an investment into your people. And I don't think you can serve your team any better than that.
That's good stuff. I mean, that really is the embodiment of servant leadership. You lead for the good of others, and it sounds like your mission is just equipping your people to achieve their goals, the goals you guys set together. That's awesome. I wasn't expecting the word empathy, and I think that's big because I've worked for a few different organizations, and when you feel like the person above you doesn't care about what's going on with you, you stop to care about what they want too.
Yeah.
But when you know that the person above you really cares, well, all of a sudden you want to do anything you can to make them proud and to be a stellar employee. So I just love that that's your focus and your passion. And we need to hear that more. I mean, again, I was not expecting the word empathy. So my degree in organizational leadership, our model was servant leadership. So words like empathy and stuff like that were thrown around, but they were always thrown around in contrast to typical leadership models, which is title, which is do what I say, which is, much different. Instead of, leading from the top down, you're really leading from the bottom up. You're constantly lifting the people around you up.
Yeah, man, I actually listened to a podcast by Simon Sinek 4 or 5 days ago. And the message was that people don't respect you. They respect your title most of the times. And so he's talking about this, and he's talking about some Secretary of State or something like that, how he went to this opera as a Secretary of State. They served in this porcelain glass and all these nice foods. Went back the next year when he didn't have the title, and he got a styrofoam cup, seating in the nosebleeds and all these things. And he was just like, do you guys not remember me? I don't know if you've heard Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about sleeping out in front of his statue. People have no clue who he is now. And so when I think about that, his message was not geared towards this. I kind of took a different take, is I want to be the guy that's respected because of who I am, not because I'm the CEO of Cornerstone or the founder of ROOFCON or KickTap or any of those things, because I care about people, and it's so obvious that I invest into them and that I put people over profit.
That's so good. I mean, leadership is influence at the end of the day, and your influence is only as strong as the quality of your relationships. And I just love that you're making that relationship factor such a forefront of your tactics here. So as a leader of your company, which is growing very quickly, obviously, all of a sudden you came up with the idea of ROOFCON. So where did that come from? What's that all about?
Yeah, man. So ROOFCON, it was crazy evolution. So I told you I was in the Marine Corps. I spent 5 years full time at the fire department. And I think it's just this idea of brotherhood. Growing up, not the greatest family environment. Parents ended up getting into drugs when I was in middle school, got split up from my brothers. We went to different grandparents' house, things like that. And so I knew from a real young age that I wanted to go to the Marine Corps, get out of town. It's my way to make a life for myself. And so I did that. And being a part of something bigger than myself was always important. And it's something that I wanted to do for a long time, but it was always just, I guess I waited because I wanted to have some success first, right? Like I wanted to build something before I'm trying to lead all these men. So we actually started an organization called Bold Brotherhood, where we started working with men, having retreats. You can look up videos and things like that. A lot of fun, man. Go to Mexico, go to Gatlinburg, all these different retreats, events. And our focus there was mind, body, and legacy. How do you stretch your mind, push your body, and grow your legacy? And we still do some things from that today. I don't know if you follow me on Facebook or anything, but we're still doing one of our events we have is called Fearless 44. It's 44 days where you do 8 daily tasks. And one of those tasks is Fulfillment 40, where you talk about your 10 blessings, your 10 reasons, your 10 targets, and your 10 excuses. And so we started with Bold Brotherhood. How do we help these men get better? And that evolved into ROOFCON. We were just helping men. We had an event. Pate Smith, a big influencer in the roofing industry, was there. He was at the retreat, and we were like, hey, man, how do we help more roofers? How do we help more roofers? How do we help more roofers? We're both tied into the roofing industry. And real quick, we started getting hate because it was for men. So we're trying to tell these women, like on Facebook ads, like, listen, this isn't anything against women. It is simply because we want to help men evolve as better spouses, better fathers, better leaders in their workplace and community. But even after that, we had a ton of men come to us and say, hey, our wives are involved with our company. We really want the women involved. So last September, we decided to roll with this idea. And within 60 days, we threw it together. In November, we had our first event, small event, 100 people in Nashville, Tennessee. And this year it's in Houston, October 15th through 17th. And there'll be 1,000 roofers there, 60 vendors. And then next year, we'd like to have 2,500, just continue to grow and bring people together. But, man, it's really cool to see people buy into it, because there's plenty of conferences out there that have vendors show up. They have speakers talk about making money, getting flashy cars, all those things. And that's cool, and I'm not knocking that at all. We're going to have people talk about sales and supplements and marketing. How do you make more money? Last year, we had a 100x ROI guarantee on the event. We told you that, hey, when you come to this event, you're going to get a 100x ROI. And we still feel confident in that. If you come to the event and you don't feel like you got your money's worth, we'll give you your money back. We're here to help. It ain't some cash grab for us. And so for ROOFCON, we're going to do the stuff that ain't so sexy that really not too many people other do, which is talk about culture, talk about relationships, leadership, accountability. Some of those things people don't talk about. Talk about legacy. Like, as a roofer, most people don't grow up and say like, hey man, I want to be a roofer. I think it's the coolest thing I can do. Most people say I want to be a cop. I want to be a billionaire. I want to be a football player. Nobody's like, hey, I want to be a roofer. But the cool thing is, man, is that roofing is an amazing industry that is a vehicle to get you where you want income-wise, so you can fulfill these reasons that I have right here on this sheet. I can help people realize what's possible. I can buy a ranch and have kids out there and have a nonprofit. It's a vehicle. And so I just feel like with leadership and legacy is not touched on quite enough in the roofing industry, and that's what we're trying to do.
That is so good. And I'm looking at the Bold Brotherhood Facebook page right now, and I'm going to join the group or visit the group. And so that is just, man, that is good stuff. I love how that evolved.
Transition the entire thing into RoofCon. Like, we're really not even active on there anymore because we just transitioned to RoofCon. And we're actually shutting down. I don't know if you saw this, but we have roofing and sales community, which has close to 10,000 members, and we're transitioning our RoofCon group into that. So we're basically merging it all, trying to do one group.
Yes, and I'm a part of that group as well. So, man, that is good stuff. So for somebody that hasn't been to RoofCon, like I haven't been yet, because again, I'm relatively new to the industry. What is it like? I mean, what's it like to go to the conference? What's going to happen throughout each day? What can people expect to experience?
Yeah, man. So we'll have the vendors where you can go around, shake hands, meet people, elbow bump, whatever you do during these Corona days. We'll have keynotes, we'll have breakouts, we'll have panels. We're big on panels because you get so much knowledge up on that stage. I mean, we have 40 plus, I think at least, maybe 50 plus speakers that we've just piled into this couple of days together in Houston at RoofCon, so we can get as much knowledge as possible so that people in the crowd can ask questions to these heavy hitters, whether they're an industry expert, somebody like John Dye that's teaching on supplements, someone like you that knows about podcasting, somebody like Paul Reed that's great at commercial, somebody like Sam Struthers that knocks out 54 million in residential, like whatever it is, there's a ton of ways to do it. And if you can just take little gold nuggets from each of them, you're going to continue to create shortcuts for yourself. They say there's no shortcuts. There are shortcuts, man. You know, you can spend money going to an event like that, or you can spend money and time figuring out the hard way. And I've done both. I mean, I figured a lot of stuff out the hard way. I've spent hundreds of thousands, probably over $1 million now, figuring stuff out the hard way. But I love getting around other people in the industry, seeing what they're doing. And it's cool because I just feel like, unlike some Facebook groups and things like that, where maybe people were tentative to share their knowledge because they're afraid of competitors, people just open up. You know, there's plenty of work out there, man, plenty of work. And people aren't as worried about it. And so that's cool to see. And, you know, something I say all the time is that 7-figure handshakes trump 6-figure keynotes. We're going to have some great keynote speakers there. They can absolutely change your business. Randy Brothers, Becca Switzer, I mean, Jim Johnson, the list goes on and on and on. Literally every big name that we wanted there is there. And so those keynotes are great, but they don't touch the 7-figure handshakes out in the crowd, in between breakouts. When you decide to go out for lunch, or you come to the VIP party or the VIP lunch or whatever it is, they don't touch that, because then you're talking to the guy that's doing 12 million that's been in business for 2 or 3 years. Maybe you're talking to the guy that's doing 68 that's been in business 12 years. How much can you learn just by a quick handshake? And not only that, not only what you learn there, but that friend request you send, and now you have access to that person because you were friendly and you helped them overcome something. There's guys like me that, how much value do I have to give to some of these big guys like Paul Reed and Sam Struthers and Eric Hunter? And not a whole lot, but maybe they're a little slow on the marketing side. Maybe they don't get branding as well. You know, they didn't come up with social media. So if I can help them there, which I've done with some of those guys throughout the years, now they respect me. They know I'm not just there to grab information from them. I'm willing to reciprocate. Now they're going to pour back into me. And so it's beautiful, man, to see people come together and really actually care about each other and know that together we're moving the industry forward, we're moving our companies forward, we're moving our people forward, and we're moving our community forward.
That's so good. I mean, I wholeheartedly agree on the what you said about 7-figure handshakes. You know, we all stand on the shoulders of others, and our our vision statement for Roofing Mastery is we equip roofing contractors to achieve mastery in their business, and mastery is a process. And if you think about other things that are learned, whether it's archery, piano, whatever it is. Well, back in the day before we had 4-year colleges, people had apprenticeship programs. And to achieve mastery, it took a lot of training from somebody else who'd been doing that trade or that skill for decades.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I mean, no, you can't necessarily microwave your success, but you can definitely shorten the amount of time you're learning things the hard way when you team up with somebody who can really show you. I mean, that's in anything. If I
Yeah.
want to go invest in the stock market, I could just shoot from the hip, or I could go to my buddy who's, got an extra $2 million he likes to invest every year in the stock market. It's been doing it for 20 years. Say, hey, what do you recommend? I
Yeah.
mean, that's just smart. So, I think it's interesting because I'm such a big believer in conferences, and the company that I was with before this, we went to conferences every month in the healthcare world. And so
Yeah.
we had a strategy leading up to every conference. We'd make a list of the top 20 people we wanted to meet. We would schedule at least 2 lunches or dinners way in advance. We do this stuff at least a month or 2 in advance, so that by the time we got there, we had breakfast, lunch, and dinner meetings set up. We had a list of people we wanted to meet. We'd already connected with all of them on LinkedIn, said, hey, we're looking forward to meeting you. We want to hang out with you. We went in strategically, and we walked away with business, and
Yeah.
we walked away with synergy. We walked away with strategic alliances, and it was just awesome. So I'm such a big believer in what you guys are doing, and what attendees can get out of it. So what would you say is what's your challenge to people that are thinking about joining the conference? How would you kind of goad them into going ahead and signing up?
Yeah, man. I'm a no pressure guy. It really comes down to, are you serious about developing leaders? Are you willing to look deep? Like the shallow stuff, if you're a shallow person, this is not for you. We're going to challenge you day one. First keynote is going to be Ryan Groff, great sales trainer. I don't know if you're familiar with Ryan. Has helped some of the biggest roofing companies in the nation. He's kind of a sleeper. Like not a whole lot of people know him because he works with huge roofing companies. But he's going to challenge you with your mindset to open it up and be willing to learn and be willing to shake somebody's hand, and don't sit with your little clique and your company at ROOFCON. Go meet other people. Now, don't get me wrong. I challenge people to bring their entire company, their team. And I don't just say that because we want numbers, man. We could get 1,000 owners, or we could get teams there. It's a great time to really just have a retreat for your company and say, hey, I want sales guys there. I want ops guys there. I want admin there. Help them realize what's possible. Help them develop as leaders. Help them get clear on their legacy and establish their legacy, what they want out of it. Because we just all have a limited amount of time, man. So if you're one of these guys that doesn't care about that stuff, one of these guys that doesn't care about stuff, this is not for you. I can tell you that right now. Goal setting, day one or day two, we'll talk about goal setting, and not just conceptual stuff of like, hey, we've got all these concepts. It sounds cool. Practical steps you can put into place to move the needle on your company and your goals. And then we'll finish up with Randy Brothers and John Dye and me with a challenge to implement. We're going to tell you, hey, all this stuff is real cool and it sounds great and you're all fired up right now. But in 3-4 days, 3-4 weeks, it's going to die off. And I challenge you to implement. You've got to go execute or it means nothing. And so for anyone wanting to come to the conference, we talk about your why, your reasons. And a lot of people are going to say your family, your friends, and that's cool. I know that's one. But again, go deep. Your family, your friends, those are your responsibility. You pick those people. Who can you help outside of yourself? If you're content with making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year, you can't really help many other people. You can give your time, and I'm not trying to be a jerk and demean anyone, but honestly, if you can get to that next level and create some wealth for yourself so that you can help other people, that's powerful, man. It's 2020. We have millions of people dying every year because they don't have clean water. We have millions of children without fathers in the home and without mentors around. We have an opportunity to lead. Every time there's a little kid and we want to make fun of him or we want to talk about him because he's running around acting crazy in Walmart, it's an opportunity for us. And so that's the things that we're looking at ROOFCON. Now we're going to talk about sales and marketing and all those things too, and help you get more leads and help you close more sales. Dale Childress will be there, Becca Switzer, John Dye, Joe Hughes. Dude, the list is just too long. I can't ever remember them all. I try to mix it up so nobody gets mad if they watch these. Like, you say his name every time and not my name. Chuck Tokyo will be there. We've just got a killer lineup of sales trainers and marketers and just the whole ordeal, man.
That's good stuff. Well, you've got me convinced. I mean, I definitely want to check it out, and I love your passion, and I really like the vision behind it and the values you guys are putting at the forefront. So what do people need to do to take the next step and learn more?
Yeah, head over to roofcon.com. You can check us out in the roofing sales community as well, roofing and sales community on Facebook. We've got like 300 people in there now. You join the group for free. We post in there. We're doing a drone giveaway right now. But just for tickets, you can go to roofcon.com. And it's simple, nothing special. roofcon.com. No dashes, no spaces, anything like that.
roofcon.com. And I'll put the website link in the show notes of the podcast and everything like that. But man, this has been great, Hunter. I mean, you've just dropped some value bombs on leadership, culture, relationships. I love it. I love this stuff. And I love what you guys are promoting. And I think that's the reason why it's growing the way it is, because deep down people need this stuff. It's not being mentioned enough. It's not being promoted enough, but that's what really makes it work, is when you've got values in place, you've got a mission in place, you've got something way bigger than yourself in place that's worth working hard for. And I love that you guys are doing that. So
we see a shift, man, in the industry just as a whole. Even some of the older guys that maybe didn't come up that way, they see it, man. They feel it. There's momentum. It really is a movement between the industry. And we're just seeing so many people step up to the plate that care about leadership, that care about legacy. You know, for us, we know right like that, when you talk about core values, we know what our core values are. We're going to give the best product. We're going to give the best customer experience. We're going to give back to the community. Together, you know, in Salt Lake City, we did a retreat in Salt Lake City back in January with our team. We took them to door-to-door con with Sam Taggart. And we talked about legacy. We talked about our mission and our individual missions. And then together, collectively as well, how do we create a mission that everyone here at Cornerstone can buy into? When they don't feel like knocking that last door, when it's a Saturday and they want to go home, but they know that collectively we have this mission called Cornerstone Kids, which is a nonprofit. It's the foundation we created, and 1% of every dollar goes in there. So if we do $10 million, $100,000 is going towards children. We just paid almost $40,000 to fund 12 proms here in the upstate. When all the kids got shut down and the school said, hey, we're not going to pay for any proms, we paid for the proms so all those kids could get their last prom. Those guys can be proud of that. That's not a pat Hunter on the back. He owns this company. None of that. Those guys are putting in the work. And it's something we can all push towards and help develop these kids into leaders, so that even if they don't have a father around, they know that our team's around. They know that they can get access to books and become a better person.
Man, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Well, we're going to have you back on the podcast here in the next 6 months to a year and hear more about Cornerstone, hear more about ROOFCON, hear more about what you guys are doing, because I think you're going to be making some big waves, continue to make big waves. You guys are off to an amazing start. So, Hunter, thank you for joining the show.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you for having me on.